sourcing specialist, magician, probably. So if you think of hackathons and sourcing, he's Leo Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo of this type. Anyways, prepare to blow your minds with Mr. Iker Jusue. Give it up.
Good morning, buenos días, bon dia. I hope that you are having a good time in Barcelona. It's always a pleasure for me to be here, even if I'm from Madrid. This is one of my favorite cities in the world, so I'm glad that I'm opening this last day of Paris Barcelona. So thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me, and I hope that you enjoy the party and you don't have like a hangover from yesterday or anything like that. So we're going to get started, and it's like a bit of the reason. So myself, I started in recruitment 7 years ago. I specialized in sourcing around 2015 when I joined a sourcing center of excellence in Hudson RPO in Edinburgh. And since then, I've been moving a little bit in the agency side. I'm working in an agency that was dedicated to sourcing. And for the last year and a half, I've been working by myself as an external consultant, following the lead of my mentor, Mark Lundgren, there in the back. And well, I had the chance of working with many amazing companies from very different backgrounds. One of my goals also, having been in the UK for the last 5 years, I was amazed by the active sourcing recruitment community. And I wanted to link both worlds also, like all the learning from the US, also from other conferences and people speaking there, and also from the UK, and bringing the gap between the two worlds, because after all, I'm living in the UK, but I'm Spanish, no? So I think that's also one of the reasons why I created a Sourcing en Español, the Facebook community, and I know that we have some people here that is very active there, and thank you for that. So if you haven't joined yet, that's the link. You can join there and you can have like any questions, or we're also discussing some tools, and I encourage you to join us. And at the end, one of the reasons why I decided to be consulting and working in this like kind of like type of freelance as an external consultant, it's like because I really like to learn from my and others' mistakes. Like really quickly, I get like sometimes I get like a bit bored, and I like to change like the context of the places where I'm working. And this gives me the opportunity of doing this and working with many different companies, like from startups to large corporates, tech companies, retail companies, FMCG. So and after all, from this, I'm able to take like some of patterns that I think are happening everywhere, in every type of company. And this for me is super important because at the end, it gives you the power as a consultant of going there and learning very quickly about something, fixing one of the problems that they have, sourcing related, and trying to work in a very diverse setting. No? So that for me is super important. No? I think like also something that made a big difference in my career is that I noticed also very early that recruitment has a very low entry barrier. I think that Johnny Campbell yesterday was discussing this. And I know that in Spain it's a bit different because a lot of people like myself, we start doing like maybe psychology, we do like a HR master degree, but I saw in the UK that people from any background, people that went to the high school then directly went to be a recruitment consultant, they were going there and finding candidates and trying to source people. No? So it had an impact because you can get like very, very natural good people and people that maybe like learning very quickly on the job, but you can also get people that doesn't know what they're doing. And maybe those people are dealing with your candidates. So that's a big problem because there's like, not like in other careers where you have like some specific technical requirements or you have like some formal education. And in some companies, to be honest, there's like not even like a proper training. So you do like what you can, and it's a big mistake in my opinion, no? So, but there is a paradox because I also noticed that sourcing pays very well, and this is very important because it's a bit like in one side you have like very junior people doing recruitment, but in other side you have like a lot of like companies having like clients and paying like a lot of agencies and companies huge amounts of money for sourcing. Like you can get like specialized companies that are having like implants only for to source that are charging maybe between 6 to 12,000 per month to some companies. You have exclusive agencies that are strong on sourcing that maybe are charging more than 50% placement fee. So we're speaking about big bucks here. It's a big business as we know it, no? By the way, I'm not taking Bitcoin fees. If somebody's thinking about that. I think like to demonstrate you also, so I spoke about, I think you know DBR by now, I hope that if you don't know DBR, you should join the community. And they did a survey with the members of the DBR in-house community. And you can see here in the slide that even sourcers that are in-house sourcers are amongst the highest payers. They have the highest salary in comparison to other professionals in recruitment. But this is not only outside of Spain, because I noticed actually this survey also, and we had a big discussion in the Sourcing en Español Facebook group, because the average salary for many of the recruitment roles was around 20-something K, but we saw that some people working as senior sourcers, they were getting like 70K in Spain, which I think is a very good salary, and others like in agencies, like very senior people, getting like 65K. So it's not only a thing that is happening outside of Spain, it's also happening here. And as I say, it has a reason, because sourcing is after all, is something expensive. So why? The first reason for me is that because sourcing reduces cost. So if it's done right, sourcing can save your company a lot of money. And sourcing, as you know, that when you have an empty role, it has a big impact on your company. Empty chairs are a big burden, and like even like decisions based on location, like if you have if you're working in a company that has like multiple locations, making the decision of like opening an office in Malta or in Barcelona or in Sevilla can have a big impact in the cost of the workforce. So sourcing is always going to help to reduce this. Also, I think that after taking all this into consideration, we can consider that sourcing is a luxury, it's a privilege. So we shouldn't take it never for granted, because it costs a lot of money. And actually I had a very good conversation with one of my best friends. He's in academia, he's a postdoc in physics, and he goes through a lot of like applications like to get his next job. And when I tried to explain to him what I was doing, like contacting people to apply to jobs, he was like, what? And people is paying you money to do that? It's like, yeah, so it's something that we take it for granted because we think that it's like something very normal, but it's not normal, it's a privilege for us, and that's why we have to take care of it as much as possible. No? So, other reasons why I think that some of the learnings that I have like from my sourcing Odyssey path make the difference. No? I think like, well, as I was saying, sourcing has a very strategic impact in the business. It's shaping how the business is going to look like, the type of people that we're approaching to, the locations where the people is going to be working in the business. Also, I think that sourcing, after all, is very related to selling. I know that especially when you are sometimes in HR and when you try to move away from the agency world, you try to avoid selling, but at the end, it's a type of job that requires very good sales skills to present the value proposition of your client, of your company, of the team that you're representing. No? So you are selling to the talent at the end. And of course, one of the most important things, and going back to what I was saying in the beginning with the low entry barrier, a lot of people, they start in sourcing as their first job, but sourcing, for me, and I think like it should be like clear for everybody as much as possible, isn't a junior thing at all. So finding people without knowing what you're doing is damaging for you, for your reputation as a recruiter, and for your company. Because at the end, like not presenting properly the value proposition of your employer or of your client is going to damage the reputation of your brand. And you need to take into consideration this because, for example, one of my first jobs in HR, I was working in France and I was like doing many things, but some of them were trying to find like concrete pump operators in the middle of nowhere in France, and it was very difficult. But I was like just like going with the flow, trying to find candidates, trying to find CVs, and that's exactly how it should be because you need some preparation to understand the market, to research, to properly understand the profile, because at the end, if not, the brand of your company can be damaged. So some process sourcing of the things that I've learned that I think why it's like so important for many of the different companies. Well, you can get to do some cool stuff like this. So this year, last year if you were here, I was doing like a workshop in sourcing tools and things that I do. So I'm not going to do much of this time. I wanted to share a few things though. You get to do things with the ecosystem where we work, that is like mainly the internet. You get like people and candidates apply for the roles that we have. You use those systems when you're doing sourcing, when you're sourcing right, to get what you want. So everybody here uses LinkedIn, and many of you, I'm sure that you have LinkedIn Recruiter. But it's not possible for you to find people on LinkedIn that have attached their CV. And there are a lot of them. Okay? So when you have understanding of how sourcing works and like some kind of techniques like advanced search on Google with search operators like site and like using like these kind of strings, you can pull out this information and make it work for you. And the difference is that you might be able to contact a person that maybe you will going to be sending an email, and you can use instead their phone number because they already have the CV attached. And you can pull out this information directly very quickly, which time, as you know, also is one of the biggest pain points and resources. So other example, if you know how to pull out, for example, and to do a trade of a website like InfoJobs, you can find like the public profiles without paying, and you can even like add in like a string to generate like and identify emails. You can get like for some, in these cases for marketing people, like all the public profiles that are on InfoJobs that they have the email there, and this is for free. So the only thing that you need to do is like to understand sourcing, to know how to do these advanced searches, and apply and test them. So I came with these two over the last year, just trying things by myself and knowing a little bit about like how to search on Google. That's all you need here. So if you want to say the string, this is what I use. You can change the email. You can change, of course, you can put like different keywords. And you're going to find candidates. In this case, it's InfoJobs, and that's why it says perfil público de, because it's the way that you can get like public profiles from InfoJobs. But you can apply this to any other website or site where you are going to find information of profiles that maybe have their emails posted somewhere. So this is a little bit what we were discussing also yesterday, and Dennis mentioned about the sourcing mindset. So this is not like a tool that you have somewhere. This is something that you need to be thinking about. And like when you have any website, a company website from a competitor or anything like that, you can say, okay, so how I can try to find this information there and make it work for me. No? And that's why I think sourcing is also so cool and so important. No? And as I was saying also, because it's, at the end, you are improving the brand and employer awareness a lot. So we were discussing about identification with these two techniques, but engagement, I think, is one of the biggest pain points nowadays. It's more easy to identify and have like access to a talent pool and to find like new profiles in different places, but engagement is always more difficult, and especially because you are at the end reaching out sometimes to consumers of your brand, you're speaking with people that maybe don't know your brand but are just clients, because they don't know your employer brand, and it can have like a big impact. No? And one of the biggest reasons why we do sourcing is because we want to improve the quality of hire. We might have a very strong employer brand. We might have a lot of applicants that are, some of them very good, but hiring managers, they want to see another CV and another profile, and they want to have like somebody from that company because they know that the technologies that they use there are even better, or that the concepts that have been, they could apply it to their company. So that's why we go out to the market, because we're trying to apply and to improve the quality of the hire that we're making, to improve the technical expertise, to improve the competencies of our company too. I think diversity, of course, and this has been discussed also yesterday, and I think it's a very hot topic. It's very important. And you can of course do many things with the right employer branding, but sourcing is key here. If you don't do specific diversity sourcing, if you're not targeting for diversity when you're doing sourcing and for identifying and engaging with the prospective candidates, you're not going to have a diverse talent pool, because many of the persons are just not going to apply for your roles, and you're going to lose a lot of talent. And it's one of the biggest pain points that I see in many companies. Like some very cool techniques that you can do, like research, like using names, like for example female names, using like image search on Google to target. But I think the best fix of all is like just allocating time of your sourcing day used to do this diversity sourcing. And it's something that you don't see everywhere, but when you do it, you make a difference. I think that for corporate in-house recruiters, sorry about the agencies, but this is one of the biggest pain points that I see with my clients. Some of the companies have like a huge agency spending. We're speaking like in some cases as millions per year, which has of course a big impact in the business itself. So in some cases, having like a dedicated sourcing team or contracting with having like an implant for some time to do like sourcing support for some specific roles is going to reduce this cost. I was saying before, some agencies they can charge like more than 20%, and they do a great job. And in some cases, I think it's very important to use them. But for other companies, it's just how they work. They use agencies because they don't have time to do sourcing, and it's like a cycle that never ends. And they spend like much more money than what they will spend if they maybe have their own sourcing function, or if they use like some sourcing consultants for some time. Common blockers, some problems that I see often, and I find like very frequently when I'm dealing with clients and when I'm working with different teams. Well, cost, we're saying that in the beginning, even if sourcing can reduce the cost of your company, like spending in agencies, and also like the impact that it will have like in the brand. Also, of course, it has a cost. It's something that we discussed like from the beginning. Sourcing is expensive. Time, I think, is one of the biggest pain points when I speak with different companies and when I go to trainings or to do like some consulting. Everybody wants to do sourcing. Everybody's super interested in having like learning about sourcing and about doing like new stuff, but they can't find the time to do it. And that's a huge problem, because at the end, if you don't have the time, you can wish it a lot, but it's not going to happen. So, and of course, resources after all, so time, cost, money. At the end, these two are the resources that you have in your day-to-day, How to improve this? After all this time, like I said, working RPO, agency, doing some consulting by my side, I think as I said in the beginning, I think like some patterns, like some things that maybe some of you are already applying, and it might sound like a bit like generic or basic, but I hope that are also useful or are going to help you to rethink some of the things that maybe you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or going at least, depending on the role that you have, going back to the business, going back to your managers, and saying, well, I was in Barcelona today, on Monday when you go back to the office, and there was a guy here saying that we should be doing this or that. So I hope that this is, in that case, beneficial for you in that sense, because at the end of the day, one of the things why I fell in love with sourcing is because it helps you to work better, and it makes my job easier, more productive, and with better results. I think like at the end, you are agents of change. Every one of you, in the different roles that you have, you are the ones that are in the market. You are the ones that are dealing with the candidates day after day. And you're seeing how, what are the difficulties, what are the problems that you have when you're reaching for talent and where you're engaging with them. So you have the power, even if you are not maybe entitled in your specific position as a recruiter or you work as a sourcer, but you can use data to demonstrate and to influence your stakeholders, your hiring managers, and you should be challenging them. I think that some people also mentioned this yesterday, and it's key. It's key to make sure that you have some success. And Matthew Bradford also yesterday was like speaking about data insights. You have to leverage that, and we'll come back to that in the next slide. So, collaboration. So some of the problems that I've seen sometimes in some teams are about, well, a bit linked to time, the scarcity of time, and a bit linked to the lack of cooperation between, in some cases, end-to-end recruiters that are managing the full process, and maybe some sourcers that are just generating candidates top of the funnel. And in some cases, just like a team of recruiters that were working together, but maybe they are like so busy, as you know, that they are silent and they are not able to, maybe they are going through the same thing over and over again without sharing like the best practices, without sharing sometimes even candidates, because everybody's like, not speaking about like the agency like fighting for, hey, this is my client, this is my candidate. No, not even that. Like in-house teams that are fighting to make placements because they have targets and because the culture that they have in company is not about collaborating. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen in so many places. So you can throw a lot of money to sourcing. You can like use agencies, you can use external sourcers, you can get trainings. If this is not solved, it's not going to work. And linking this to the reality and the wishes. So a lot of the clients that I have, like yes, on paper sourcing looks very good. They want to have a training in sourcing, they want to learn like new techniques, they want to learn like new tools. They might want to buy a new tool, but at the end, sometimes, as I was saying now with collaboration, a lot of the problems are, to be honest, and maybe this is shooting myself in the foot, but they are not related to sourcing. They are something else. And we have to be very honest here, and if we're not in a position maybe where we can change that ourselves, even if I hope that you all have like some kind of influence in your space, but at least we have to go back to the manager that is dealing with the team. We have to scale this and make them know that sometimes the problems that we have are not sourcing related. For example, a business case that I had a year ago. I had one company that was hiring a lot. They had like a very good brand, so they were reaching out, they were like having a lot of people, but they were losing 5 employees every month. So yes, of course, they had the sourcing stuff going very well, but they had a retention issue. So is this a sourcing problem for me? For me, it's business, that's okay. But for the company, it's losing money for something that they can avoid, okay? So that's what I was trying to say. I know that it's like, yes, of course, Iker, that's, we know that. But you are the agents of change. You are the one that can say, look, we're losing money, we're losing time, and what we have is a HR problem. And I know that in Spain, sometimes in many roles, recruitment and HR is still very linked. So maybe that's something also good, because you have like maybe more influence with the business to solve some of these things, you know? And to be honest, I think like some of the roles don't need sourcing. And you have to find which ones can be closed with, if you're working also with HR or in a HR role. Some of them might need like internal promotion, and the hiring manager, even if they want to see like other people, is something that you can deal with them. Others maybe are going to be very quickly closed with some referral sourcing with the hiring managers, which I encourage you to do as much as possible when doing a search with them, going through their contacts, going through their LinkedIn, searching in their LinkedIn with them, or pulling out information from their LinkedIn if that's possible, and showing them like, do you know this person, yes or not. And some brands, they're going to have like a lot of applications, good quality applications, and sourcing should be part of the strategy. Because, again, it's a luxury, as I was saying in the beginning, it's going to take cost, it's going to take your time, and just because the hiring manager wants to have sourcing, maybe it's not needed. So you need to challenge them on that. And linked to what I was saying before, so not everybody will need a specialized sourcing function, and not everybody will have like a specialized sourcer. So one good friend, Balas Paraxey, I hope that you know him. He's a great guy, and he's like one of the best sourcing gurus. And he came with this, with a sourcing calculator where you can put the data, like trust numbers, and see if you really need like a specialized sourcing team, based on also in agency spending. And so if you have, please say. At the end of the day, many of these things that I was saying are coming together to one big fix, and it's like having a top-down alignment. So you are the recruiters, you are working the market, you have the head of HR, head of people, head of each of the business units that you are serving and supporting, but if you are not aligned with them, not about the profile, but about this kind of these requirements that we're seeing, sometimes it's not going to be working. And I see this often, and I had this discussion a lot about how the business, and sometimes how ourselves as recruiters, we treat candidates, passive candidates, okay? We should be treating all the candidates like stars, like appreciating them a lot, because they are very valuable, even if they're not exactly what we're looking for after, but especially passive talent, because I've seen many times that or HR stakeholders or hiring managers are treating a passive candidate the same way as an active candidate, as somebody that applied from stage one. And we are making a huge mistake because we are forgetting that this person maybe is still not engaged. And it's not only your job to be engaging, especially like as when we are sourcing, our job is like to put people in front of the business, identify people that is good and put them there. But the engaging is going to continue. It's not going to end when we do, okay, hiring manager interview, do whatever you want. And they say, oh, where's your CV? Oh, no, it's not going to work because these people, they still need to be sold in the history of what the company is doing. And if there is no alignment and the hiring manager thinks that he can wait like to see candidates for weeks or maybe like not giving feedback straight away, we're going to be maybe risking losing very good candidates. And especially going back to what I was saying in the beginning about the brand, it's going to have a negative impact in your brand because we're reaching out to people that are maybe not interested in your company at all, that maybe are not thinking about the change. We push them to be in front of the process, to speak with people, to lose some of their time, and then maybe they wait like for weeks, months, days, or they go to a very like kind of like a straight away a difficult interview of somebody like assessing them, trying to rule them out. No, that's a huge problem. These people are in some way special, and we need to have like a special treatment. As we also need to have a special treatment if we want to add diversity. Because if we want diversity, that's fine. We need to reconsider what we have to do different. Also, when we're treating these candidates, we can treat them the same way. It's not going to work. So this all goes at the end, and I think it's one of the biggest learning and going to the common theme of you being agents of change. You need to educate the business. Okay? So what I was saying, how do you treat the passive candidates is critical, like pushing them like used to do a CV or do like a technical test straight away, like, oh yeah, come to work to my tech startup, it's amazing, do a hackathon tomorrow. Like, why this person should do a hackathon tomorrow or a codility test? They're not even interested yet in your company. They want to know more about who is the possible manager. So we have to take all this into consideration because if not, all the goals that we had before about like adding more quality people and having like better hires and having a better employee branding are just not going to happen. And I think like some of the fixes, some of the things that you can have. It's like, well, I hope that you have already some kind of like internal service level agreements in place. This has been like maybe one of my biggest learnings from working in RPOs, in outsourcing, because at the end of the day, you need to have like targets of what you're going to deliver, but it has to be going both ways. So the business, also your team, the stakeholders that you're going to be dealing with, also they need to have like some commitment. Also to keep consistency, to what I was saying right now. And I think like this, for example, would be a good example. If you are presenting and you're putting a passive candidate in front of the hiring manager or in front of the HR person that's going to do the next interview, feedback should come quickly. And just as simple as 24 hours or not new candidates. I mean, it depends on the business. I know that this is like more easier to say like this year, you are going to need to 5 sometimes, but you will find like also your way. And again, like using data and insights to actually to influence this. Back yourself with data as much as possible. You need to challenge them, but not just because of that or because you went here to hire in Barcelona and it was amazing and you learned some new things. Also because you are the experts in the market, you have the data, you have like great tools like LinkedIn search insights, like Talent Tab, for example, that is a great tool also to back up all this information about how the market looks like, or use like information from when you're discussing with people, and you can translate that very quickly to the hiring managers. No? I think like something that helped me a lot also to change a little bit how they see sourcing, speaking about the business, hiring managers, even some HR people, it's like to source together, because sometimes it's like we're like just so busy delivering that they take us like for a service that is going to come as for granted. And as I said in the beginning, sourcing is a luxury and it's difficult, and it's not something that anybody can do. Well, yes, I mean, of course you can try, but you're not going to have like good results, as I was saying before. So sourcing directly with them, like going like to, if you can like run like some internal sourcing sessions, it doesn't have to be like a lot of hours, like maybe half an hour with your hiring manager, make it of course as easy as possible for them, that having everything prepared so you can go with the team and try to source some time together are going to help, because first of all it's going to give you like some credibility, and also it's going to help you to maybe identify some new talent that you were not considering. And if you're not doing that, or you are not doing, you're not able to be like sourcing with your hiring managers or with your team, at least try to always have like some kind of calibration stage before you sending them candidates. Any hiring manager should be able to commit to review your profiles before contacting them, because if you don't do this, you have a huge risk, and it's contacting people that they don't know, or that they know upfront that they don't want to speak to. This doesn't mean that you need to present people a list of like possible candidates that you're going to contact, and then you will have this typical hiring manager that will say, no, I don't want this candidate, and no, this is like, I don't like this school, no, I know this company is not good. You still like, you need also to challenge them at some point, but definitely when you do this calibration, it's going to help you to avoid some mistakes, or to address better the searches that you're going to be doing. And but I was saying, so tools and hacks are great, but sometimes maybe you don't really need them. You can like leverage like some of the resources that you have, and this is like also very, very important in a way. So we have always to consider that the tools also have cost, and sometimes maybe they are not used as much as we need them. I had this in one agency where I was working, I was going through the LinkedIn Recruiter reporting, and in some cases people were like not logging in to LinkedIn Recruiter. It's like, okay, maybe they were not needing Recruiter, and then we didn't have to allocate them a LinkedIn Recruiter license, or maybe they didn't know how to leverage this, and then they needed some additional training for that. So it's important not about like just getting the tool, but also understanding if it's being used properly. So, and after all, improving the return on investment of the existing resources that you have already. I think that sometimes we try to get very complicated with many things, and it will go up, and we lose like a lot of time when we have the candidates in our databases, for example. some advice additional to this, like don't get lost because there is a lot of noise. There's a lot of like many different tools. And some ways I maybe you have felt like this when you have like seen like many slides of different tools at the same time. Be more productive is like automating what you can. Sophia probably is going to speak about that later. Marcel is going to be great too, so please check that. And use tools to make your life easier, that's all. Some of my preferred for productivity, Todoist and Trello. I add like some of the tools that I want to try. I see them somewhere, I add them there, and I check them later. So I encourage you to do that and to avoid getting lost with many different things. So it's all about, for me, about keeping the balance between like trying to innovate and trying to learn a lot of new things, but trying to focus without being like lost with the flow of like many information from different things. And it's very difficult, but if you can do it, and if you use tools like this, it's going to be even better. And allocating time to source, going also with productivity, like having like sourcing sessions, at least more than 30 minutes. If you think that you are sourcing because you're going 5 minutes per day sourcing, or when you have like 2 minutes to check a couple of profiles, you are not sourcing. You need to spend time to review, identify profiles, and engage. And I think also Mark Lundgren is going to speak after about Agile, and you will see how you can state that in a very good way to make it work better for you. I think that, going back to what I was saying, sometimes we get lost trying to be very complicated, trying to spend a lot of money in sourcers, in trainers, in tools, and we are not comparing the basic first. So I think it's always important to be honest and check back this and try to do this first, no? And at the end of the day, one of my biggest learnings is like the importance of professional development. And if you remember, one of the first things that I say today is that recruitment has a very low entry barrier. We don't have like all normally certifications. Now I think we have social talent, black belt, this kind of thing, that is great. But we need to make as much as possible. So attending here this event is something good for you, but also speaks very well to you because it means that you are interested in developing your career and learning more about what you can do better. So please keep attending these kind of events and these meetups. And actually, even if I have a candidate in recruitment that mentioned that is going to a meetup or is going to these kind of events, I think it's going to be speaking very well for this person. So even for new job opportunities. Join online communities. So we have the Recruitment People Club. That is great. Sourcing en Español on Facebook. DBR on Slack too, that is a great community. Recruiting Brain Food, also a great one. I think that's super important, and as I said, but don't get lost, don't get flooded with all the flow of information. Be there, allocate some time, check the stuff, add it to Trello or to whatever list you want, and then check it when you have like some 30 minutes per week, something like that. And at the end, invest in some training, because at the end, if your company can invest in some training, that's even better. If your company is not investing in training, try to do that yourself. I think like what I was saying, like setting like some individual goals, like when I had some teams in the past, I told them like, for example, try to read 1 blog post per day, or if you are very busy during the day, don't check the communities until you have like 1 hour, for example, on Fridays or on the evening, because it's not very difficult to catch up with everything. Online trainings, also, social talent, I think is great. I also recently have been involved with the Sourcing Academy, and you can check this online training here with this link. You have also a discount code that you can use. You can do a free trial of the tool, and I think it comes from the US. It has like very good training for on a yearly basis. So please check it out if you can attend like an in-house or a one-to-one training session. At the end, what I'm trying to say here is that if your company is training you, and if you are not receiving the support to overcome all the difficulties related to sourcing, and you are maybe only by yourself, well, you have, in my opinion, 2 options. You can move on to something else. You can move on to other company that maybe is giving you the training, and it will be maybe a wise choice. Or at least you can train yourself and invest in your own professional development. So, thank you very much.